and I appreciate that. And I'm now recording. So this session is being recorded. If you need to refer to it later on, we've got access to it. So the recording will not include the poll we just sent, but I will include the questions as I share my screen. The questions I asked you included, okay, by the way, that's the background. You'll notice, by the way, even on my lead screen, I include not only my LinkedIn address, which I would urge you and encourage you to do on all communications, because you'll be using LinkedIn and it's going to mean something. I also included a tiny URL. If you want to access this PowerPoint presentation, tinyurl.com/FMU-LI7. That will get you this presentation. So you can copy that down. I'll post that in the chat as well, and you'll have access to that, and we'll make it work for you. So you can link to this presentation, and there will be recording a follow-up. I'll get a link out, and I will send it on. Minerva will get it, and then she can pass it on to you guys when that's done. Better yet, connect with me on LinkedIn and request it, and I'll send you the link directly. So here's some of the questions I did ask. And I wasn't going to ask about the groups because there's a lot of newbies. But the last question on here I will ask. Have any of you read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Does that book ring a bell? Stephen Covey. Cool. Thank you, Taylor. Excellent book. Does anybody remember what the second habit is? The second habit. I'm a big fan of the second habit. Anybody want to unmute and take a guess? You don't have to, no pressure. I'm not grading this first performance. Actually, I am, but you're all going to get A's anyway, so don't worry about it. Well, second habit of the 7 habits of highly effective people is begin with the end in mind. I'm a real fan of 7 habits and beginning with the end in mind. So when you look at that, you say, well, what is the end I have? I want to go to grad school. I have a career choice. I want to go into education. I might be thinking, you know what? I want to be entrepreneurial. I want to start a business. Or I have a family business that I want to get into. Or I have a significant other that I'd love to work with in what they do, or they will work with what I do. Want to work together. So think of what you want to do. When I went to grad school, I have 2 masters, an MBA from Wharton. I also have a master's in education technology. That was 100% online. I then went back to my doctorate. I believe in lifelong learning. I wasn't the oldest guy in my class to graduate, which was encouraging too, but it was a nice environment that I said, okay, I want to get more involved in academia. What kind of connections can I make in that vein? And I told you, a number of thousand folks I connected with the summer before I started. The question you want to ask, what do you want out of life? Long-term, short-term? What do you want out of your career? What goal, what direction you're headed? That might be the network you pursue, the groups we talk about that you end up joining. Those might be the kind of folks you get involved with and network with online and LinkedIn. Now, I'm an old MySpace guy. I'm not a big Facebook guy, but I'm taking a course this summer, a 5-week course that I'll be doing a 5-day challenge I'll talk about in a little while. But those are the kind of things that think about what you need, what you want, and then find resources to help get you there. You want to think long-term, but in business, we're all a brand. As a matter of fact, I just changed my LinkedIn address from LinkedIn/in/Scott Dell to LinkedIn/in/Dr. Scott CPA. So you're going to find my Zoom account name as Dr. Scott CPA. I'm branding Dr. Scott CPA. I have a website I'm developing, Dr. Scott CPA. Not that you need to be Dr. Scott CPA, but you need your own brand. You're projecting your own image. If you're going to do anything professionally, people are going to follow you, track you down, and what image are you presenting? LinkedIn is a great environment for presenting that image and making it front and center. Maybe you're looking for a job, so you're going to put the skills that you bring to bear. Maybe you're looking to sell on LinkedIn. Maybe you're using that as a tool that you have a business and you're going to take a different orientation when you put descriptions, when you put your headline, which is the line below your name, about who you are, what kind of job you are doing or have, or skill set you have. You have limited real estate on a resume. You have limited real estate in a LinkedIn profile, and we'll go down that direction. Ultimately, how do you get to where you want to go? It all takes time. You're going to have to dedicate time. You don't just throw up your LinkedIn profile and say, oh, that'll last me 5 years. Don't have to do anything else. We're good. You can't do that when you come to FMU for school. You can't do that when you have a profile that you're looking at saying, well, what is this profile saying about me? And what is that image I'm projecting to others? And how am I going to enhance that? How is that going to evolve? How am I going to grow with that? So I've got an introductory video to share. And actually, I'm going to come out of sharing for a minute. And I'm going to make sure we're all on the audio side so that we can all hear it. So when I do share the screen, there's a tab, share computer sound. I need to change. I'm doing that. And let's go ahead and share that now. So I'm going to go and play a video, less than 2 minutes, just to give you an introduction. So we'll go and take it away and hear what we have to hear. Okay.
If you're watching this, chances are good you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star, and you want to avoid eating the same meal over and over and over again. Good news, you're in the right place. That's right, LinkedIn. It's not just for top executives. It's not just for old people with heavy briefcases. It's for you, and it's the perfect place for you to start your professional story. Say you want to get a job in New York City. You've never been there before, but that's okay because you have LinkedIn on your side. You start by creating your profile. You give it love because you know it's what recruiters are looking for day and night. It's your resume that never sleeps. It's your flashing neon sign that says, hire me, for the love of all that is good in this world, hire me. Then you start making connections. Alumni working in New York? Yes. Recruiters at top companies in New York? Yes. Your mom's best friend? Yes. You start imagining whose shoes you want to walk in. You think, wow, this is a lot of deep stuff to consider. You shake yourself out of it and start searching for jobs. Whoa, that's a lot of jobs for students. Time to get down to business. You start to tailor your profile. You start applying. You feel empowered, in control, like you should be CEO. That gives you an idea. You look up all the CEOs of all the companies you want to work at. You see one of them went to your university. Then it hits you. You see a clear path from campus to career. You feel like you can see the future. You wonder if you're psychic. Should you start a hotline? No, back to plan A. You keep tailoring and connecting and applying, and before you know it, you start getting responses. First a few, then more, then an interview, and then you're hired. And that's when the real learning begins.
Okay. So was everybody able to hear that? Did it kind of make sense? What did you take out of that video? I'd say you're in the wrong video. Okay, go ahead. All right, so what are your thoughts? And go ahead and unmute. So far, what you've heard. I know we haven't covered a lot. We'll cover a lot more, but this is, we're 3 slides in.
I don't know if my mic's working now.
Perfect. I can hear you great. Thanks, Dan.
I guess one thought was networking.
Big time. That's a great thought. And by the way, I'll give you a 70% number. 70% of jobs that people get these days are from networking. Only 30% is going on the job boards, submitting your resume, going in the applicant tracking systems, and going down that track. So networking is key, and LinkedIn is a gold mine for networking. Okay, anybody else? And then I'll go back to the PowerPoint share, and we'll go take a look at what we're talking about. All right, so if we're looking at LinkedIn, so why would you use it? It is a professional social media for life. It's not a Facebook. And you're not going to say what you had for lunch. You're not going to say where you went on vacation unless it's professionally related. It opens doors, colleges, jobs, internships, and mentors, which is a powerful environment. It can actually kick down some doors for you. It differentiates you. I've interviewed and reviewed resumes of thousands of people. I've had a number of businesses. And when I do that, I look on a resume and say, what jumps out at me that makes you different? Because you're going to graduate with a degree. You're going to have a GPA. You're actually going to have a major. And you probably will have worked in school. But what is going to set you apart that you can talk about and differentiate you from the other 200 people or 500 people or 1,000 people applying for a similar job? Or internships even. So internships are usually a lot less competitive. And especially after you have an internship, over half the people in the country, in the US anyways, will get their full-time jobs from their internships. So internships are pretty powerful. So what makes you special? What makes you different? Build your network. We're going to talk about first degree and second degree connections in a minute. I have had a lot of different jobs, and I don't always remember the dates of the things that I did with a big 4 CPA firm, started businesses, whatever it is in my profile. I actually use it as a tool that I say, okay, oh yeah, my last teaching gig I started in, was it 2007 or 2008 when I went full-time in academia. Well, I was able to I look back and I say, oh, yep, January 2007, I'm good to go. It helps you remember, invest in yourself. It is a time investment. As I said earlier, you can't just put up your profile and say, great, I'm done. Not like the billboard that you don't change the ad on. This is a dynamic environment. Websites need to change constantly. Your LinkedIn profile needs to change constantly. And there's over 675 million people around the world using this stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the LinkedIn universe. A lot of you didn't understand the first degree, second degree thing. So let's say, as far as connections go, you're connected to me. Well, you're a first degree connection now. You can actually send me mail called InMail directly within LinkedIn. You can't send InMails to second degree connections, which are my connections that you may not be connected to. But they are your second degree connections. And why is that important? Well, a second degree connection and a third degree connection is even more distant. When I told you 17,600 plus right now and growing, and I continue to grow. Why? Because my students will become second degree connections to everybody I'm connected to. What does that mean? Well, if I have a recruiter, and I have a lot of HR folks, a lot of business folks, if there's a recruiter in my network and they put in a search, I'm looking for somebody that has skills that does healthcare and X-ray technology and has the ability to program in C++ or whatever they're searching on, they will go through their first degree connections first. And since I have none of those qualifications, I won't pop up. But if they find things in their first degree, great, that'll show up first on their list. Then it will go through their second degree connections. So they're my first, but because you're connected to me, they're your second. So if you have those qualifications, you will be found next. And that's kind of powerful. And then it goes on to third degree connections. So does it pay to get more connections? Yes, that's the bottom line. So it gives you some insight into what we're talking about. Are we making sense so far? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the global network. We said over 675 million, approaching 700 million users. That's double the population of the US, more. We've got about 167 users in the US. Roughly half of the US is on LinkedIn right now. But it is a global tool, and there's a lot of users around the world. Actually, Europe has more as a whole than the United States does. Okay. By the numbers, we said 675 as of February 20. College students, millennials. It's used by 51% of US college grads of all majors. 41% of millionaires are on LinkedIn. It's heavily male weighted, or 57-43 break. Opposite Facebook is kind of the other way. There are over 20 million jobs and internships posted. But a key figure, if you're going to have a takeaway, over 95% of recruiters and human resource folks are LinkedIn users. And I'll tell you, when I was interviewing people, I'd get a resume, you get 7 seconds to impress. And you do the same thing on LinkedIn. But when I got a resume, I'd actually put the resume down, I'd go ahead and type in the name in LinkedIn, and I would look at their LinkedIn profile first. So I expect you to have a LinkedIn profile for the jobs that I would interview. I had a high-tech company. I actually had a restaurant at one point that wasn't so important. And I've had other businesses that may have varying degrees of importance. But in academia, when I'm interviewing, I want to make sure they have a presence because they need to relate. And I want to make sure that their LinkedIn profile with their attention to detail is solid. A couple other numbers, LinkedIn is older than Facebook. They went public in 2011. But Microsoft paid over $26 billion back in 2016 to buy them. They must have something going for them. It's a couple of things, 15,000 employees around the world, profiles. You want to make sure you have a clean professional headshot. If you don't have any headshot, you don't get as many connections, you don't get found as much. But with a professional headshot, 7 to 15 times more likely to get connections. InMail, I mentioned the InMail is the email equivalent. higher response rate than standard email. As a matter of fact, when you send an email, in their normal email, they get a message saying, by the way, you've got an email in LinkedIn. So it's kind of a reminder that says, oh, I guess I have to go on LinkedIn and check and get your name in front of them again. It's one more exposure. And currently paid user about 40%. By the way, everything I'm talking about here can be done in a free account. I actually grew to over 16,000 users just from a free account. Professionally, I'm in a startup this summer and I have some other business interests. I felt I needed a professional account, premium account, because it gives me some more search criteria, gives me free in-mails. I said you can only do in-mails to your first degree connections. If you have a paid account, you can actually do it to others besides your first degree on a limited basis. And if you're a veteran, you get a free 12-month upgrade to a premium account. So take advantage if you can. What do you want to do on LinkedIn? Take it seriously. It's only your career. You want to include the link everywhere. Next on a resume, next to your email address, you want to have your LinkedIn address. You want to have it on your signature blocks in your emails. Recruiters are going to check for it anyways. You may as well give it to them. But if I look at a resume and I say, oh, someone's got their email address, their phone number, and their address, and somebody else has that, plus LinkedIn address on top, I say, oh, they're plugged into professional social media. That's telling me a story. You make connections like crazy. Brought up the point of networking earlier. That was a great point. Network with everybody. Parents, friends of parents. You want to get friends of yours, teachers, alumni from your institution, all kinds of friends. You never know when those folks are going to know somebody else that might have something that you need or want. And by the way, networking is a two-way street. It's not just take, and I'm going to emphasize that. You need to give as well as take. That's what networking is about. Hi, I've got an idea. Oh, I found this cool article. I told you I use this as my Rolodex of choice. When I get articles, I'll go in and say, oh yeah, I've got 4 or 5 people I want to send this to. Or I post it in a group. Some groups have 1,000 members. Some groups have over 1 million members. And you post it to a group, you can build a reputation, a good reputation as well. Use it before interviews. You want to look up the people you're going to be talking to, find out their backgrounds. They've been with the company 2 years or 22 years. They went to Iowa State, they went to FMU, they went to Wharton or Stanford or Harvard. You want to have an idea of where they're coming from and you know what not to say sometimes and other things you can say. It's another way of doing your due diligence. Seek recommendations and endorsements and give recommendations and endorsements. You can see both on your profile. If you give somebody a recommendation, that will show up on your profile. And you say, wow, that's a good, nice recommendation you gave that person. And again, it's a give and take. There's a way to change a URL. I mentioned it's called a vanity URL. And I had changed mine about 3 months ago, from LinkedIn/in/Scott Dell to LinkedIn/in/ to Dr. Scott CPA. You can change that so it doesn't say LinkedIn/in Scott Dell 7666935 ABR. It's more professional if you just have your name there. It adds a cleaner appearance and easier for you to remember too. And then you want to brag, this is a place to do it. If you don't brag, who will? And then free is more than enough. As I said, everything that we're going to be talking about, you can do for free. So I'm going to stop the share here and again, open up for questions here. Does anybody have any thoughts or input right now that you would like to? I've been doing a bunch of talking, but anything on your mind that you see? How many are finding this valuable so far? Just a quick show of hands if you can. Okay, cool. We're on the right track. Okay. And is Janaya on screen? I see a picture. There we go. Oh, hi there. Welcome. Smiling faces are good. By the way, you also want to smile in your profile picture. What's the natural reaction when you smile at somebody? Oh, they smile back. What a concept. You want people to be happy when they see you. If you're frowning or if you're serious or I think I need to look professional, that's not professional. Smile. It's good. All right, let's go back in and share back to our PowerPoint and keep moving on. All right, so if we're going to take a look at your profile. So your profile contains some things. First impressions, you're going to see the picture. And we said that you'll be more likely to be connected with if you have professional, clean picture than having no picture at all. You can put your name in uppercase, but right under your name is your headline. Now, a lot of people might put Scott Dell, assistant professor accounting or assistant professor business. If I put that on my profile, it tells exactly what I do. If you're a VP, if you're a student, I see some people say looking for a job or looking for opportunities. I would shy away from that personally, but we can talk more some if you have a question. I would put something in there looking to help others do XYZ, or proficient in technology, looking to apply in an environment for high tech, for healthcare, for whatever you're looking for. People are going to read your profile. They can read the boring one that says, I'm working, I have a title, nothing wrong with being a sandwich artist at Subway, but it's a great job. I work food service. One of my first jobs was at a McDonald's style kind of place that we chicken and burgers. I was flipping burgers, been doing chicken at the same time. But that's not what I want to show off. I want to show off some capabilities that would make it interesting. I used to say translating accounting into English was part of my headline, because that's what I did. I added accounting as a language in my profile. I do a little bit of French. I got some Hebrew behind me. I spent a year in Israel. I got English pretty good. But I also added accounting as a language, as the fourth language, because accounting is the language of business. But when people see my profile, they'll see that as a language skill. And I actually get a lot of comments on that periodically. The summary is changing. Again, that 5 to 10 minutes a day, you want to dedicate some time, and it's going to evolve. Experience and accomplishments, discuss what impact you had and what impacted you. You don't just say, yeah, I work in an office and I copy and I talk to people and I man the phones or woman the phones or I'm on the phones. You want to say that I take 20 to 30 calls a day and simultaneously am preparing documentation for loan processing that serves our clients, attention to detail, yada, yada, whatever it is you're doing. Or I process 40 loan applications a day. I make 80 calls a day outbound. I am going through and have skilled with these kind of technology. I program in Excel and Word, or I edit documents and have a proficiency at whatever you do. So what have you accomplished? If you can quantify it, all the better. And then activities, skills, I mentioned recommendations already, and endorsements. Okay. So let's talk about alumni. There's an alumni search page. You go to Francis Marion University, and down on the left-hand side, home, about, jobs, and alumni. And again, with a free account, I could go in and there are 13,779 alumni from Francis Marion University on LinkedIn. And I did a search. What are the most popular employees is the first column? Well, 216 happen to work or have worked at FMU, 119 at McLeod Health, 98 at Sunoco. I just posted a Sunoco internship opportunity. I mailed it out to 500 business students. And if anybody has a business minor, you probably got it. ACS Technologies, they've been pretty active, 91. Wells Fargo, Blue Cross Blue Shield, MUSC, Walmart. One of my students got a job at Walmart and 4 years later was making 6 figures. Nothing wrong with a Walmart job. US Army, Duke Energy, Verizon, Florence Darlington Tech, ADP. So those are the top employers. I decided to focus. Let's focus on mathematics. Give me all the mathematics folks, because I think I'm talking to a mathematics crowd. Well, I found 295 folks that majored in mathematics. I also had minors and majors in mathematics and computer science, physics, computer science, business admin and management, chemistry, ed leadership, elementary ed, education. So these are the majors that happen to be, and nice thing about it, you can, if I want to see the 18 folks in education, I can see their pictures if they're posted. I can go to their profiles and I can invite them to connect on LinkedIn. I have full access to each one of these. There are second degree connection, third degree connection. I can't send them an email on a free account, but I can invite them to connect. And once I connect, I could call them and say, hi, I'm a fellow alum. First of all invitations should be sent with a message. You don't just say, click, connect, add to my network. There's an automated message that goes out. You want to customize and personalize all invitations. Hi, as a fellow alum or soon to be alum of FMU, I would be honored to connect to your LinkedIn professional network. Thank you for your consideration. Done. And 98% of the time, an alum will not refuse that invite. If you send a connection request that says, I'd like to add you to my professional network, and that's what the default is, half the time or more, they'll reject that saying, who the heck are you? So by all means, personalize your invites. Nothing to say you can't put it in a Word document and cut and paste it. I do a lot of that myself. I personalize an invite to a vertical market I'm pursuing or a group of folks that I'm at a conference with. Hi, as a fellow American Accounting Association member, excited to participate in the annual conference with you. I would also be honored to be added to your LinkedIn professional network. Thank you for consideration, Dr. Scott. That is what I cut and paste as a Word document. I pop it into my invite, and I'll do that 20 or 30 times. If I'm in a meeting or a group, I meet some people. I go one step further for mathematics majors or mathematics minors. Where are they working? So where the 216 FMU, that's everybody of the 13,779. The last column is only the folks that were math majors or math minors or have mathematics in the description. 19 FMU, 14 at ACS Tech, 6 at Florence Darlington. I've got the Richland School District. I've got 3 at IBM. Look on down here, I've got 1 at Accenture in consulting probably, and West Florence High School. I could say, well, I'm applying for a job at West Florence High School. Who are those 2 people? You can get right to it. You can jump right at it, and you can connect to those 2 people and see who they are. You can see geography. I'm moving to Dallas. Who do we have for alums in Dallas, in Boston, in Madison, Wisconsin? When I came to Florence, I did that exact thing. Who I was an alum from my University of Wisconsin that I'm graduating from, who might have been connected at Marian University, who's in Florence? I actually found some people from my alma mater living in Florence at Honda, at other companies. I invited them to connect. Hi, I'm moving to town. And I connect and then start trying to build a rapport and build a relationship. So it really is about networking. Okay. I mentioned groups before. I'll invite all of you to join the Accounting Student Exchange, where business students and professionals share, learn, and grow. It's not just for accounting students, not just for finance students, and necessarily it is more for business students because I have a lot of business professionals, I have a lot of recruiters, and I have a lot of academics that are business academic related. But there's a group down here, the Finance Club, now has over 1 million members. They're at 994,000, if you can read that on the screen. Business Control, we have FP&A, managerial accounting, accounting finance, 200,000 plus in the group. I manage about 3 groups myself. You can join up to 99 groups on LinkedIn. And that's a pretty powerful offering. If you know anything about Facebook groups, LinkedIn is a similar idea, not quite as social, but much more professional, and articles and information gets posted. Okay. I'll give a plug for my book. I just published a month ago, my first book on Amazon, $2.99 on the e-version and $10 now for the paperback, but you don't have to get it, but it's there. But I do have over 17,000 connections. That's some of my background, not a big push. So I'm going to talk a couple more things and then we're going to go into Q&A. On this video, you don't have to remember the links because you have access now to that tiny URL, but be careful. Safety and security. I will often get the question, do I connect to anybody and everybody in LinkedIn? And the short answer is usually. Actually, the answer in my class for every question I ask is it depends. I say any question I ask when a student, and usually the answers are it depends, but I'm going to follow up with it depends on what. So I'll answer it here, depends on what. If someone asks you to connect and they happen to be from Nigeria, not that anything wrong with Nigeria, but you hear a lot of scams, and I'm not trying to pick on one country, but you can get information from Russia, from Korea, from France, Japan, England, Italy. Those are things that I will usually connect without hesitation or reservation. Because if they look at their profile and they say, I'm into entrepreneurship, I'm into marketing, I'm into business, I'm into counseling, I'm into education, whatever it might be, I say, okay, they're a legitimate person that I might be able to help someday. And down the road, they may be able to help me or my students or anybody that's connected to me. So I usually err with less caution on connecting to people. But if I get a message 2 hours later said, by the way, I have this business opportunity that I loved somebody in the States to handle, I will not be connected anymore. I will disconnect from that person and I will cut it off saying, you know what, they're just trying to sell me and I don't need that right now. I've got enough on my plate and I'll let them sell somebody else. I often answer the question differently for a female than a male. And a female, frankly, does have to be a little more cautious. I'm not trying to be sexist, other than normally you want to give that little deeper consideration. I've found LinkedIn to be a very clean platform, a lot less stalking than Facebook and some of the other platforms, but it can happen anywhere. So again, consider what you're thinking about. I say common sense here may not be so common, but you want to kind of think about things through. That's the yes or no for strangers that are requesting. I have a lot of people that say, I'm not going to connect to a stranger, and that's the choice. And that's a personal commitment that says, you know what, you need to know me to connect to me. The one thing I shy away from, though, is saying I only make connections with those folks that know me well. And some people have that philosophy. As you can tell, I kind of have the opposite philosophy. If it sounds too good to be true, of course it's going to be. Also, be careful what you post. I used to be able to say, if you don't want it on the front page of the newspaper, don't put it in your social media, professional or otherwise. Don't put it on Facebook, don't put it on LinkedIn. Billboards are now a little bit more recognizable because newspapers are on a little bit passe. But be careful what you put. If you're not willing to put it on a billboard and have the whole world see it, don't put it in your social media. And there's the grandma and grandpa test. If grandma and grandpa thinks it's okay, it's probably good to go. LinkedIn is professional social media, but still can be abused. Don't be too afraid. Don't be living in fear, but you want to be smart about things. And we're back to the golden rule of do unto others as they may do unto you. Okay. I'm actually doing a 5-day, what's called a 5-day challenge or a 5-day opportunity in September. If you actually join that accounting student exchange group, I use groups to post those kind of things. The 5 topics, I'm going to be talking about keywords we didn't get a lot into here, but that's how get you found. I can get you Harvard, Wharton, or Stanford on your LinkedIn profile, your resume for next to nothing, less than $100 or free on something called MOOCs if you're not familiar. Networking is a part of my day 3. These are 10 to 15 minute presentations, about 45 minutes of homework. So in an hour a day, you're going to walk away with something useful. And that 70% of jobs figure, I put it here too, are found through networking. Devil's in the detail, no grammar errors, no spelling errors, just like on a resume, kiss of death. And you are a professional picture. You don't want a picture with your cat or your dog or your significant other or the wedding shot that you were somebody else that you cut them out. You want a professional headshot. Although, if you look at my picture, I have a motorcycle and I'm a cover of a magazine. I received the Wisconsin Accounting Educator of the Year award. And so I'm trying to brag. Like I say, if you don't brag about yourself, who's going to? But I've had people say, Scott, you keep saying a professional headshot. My other professional headshot used to be, I had our school mascot from Marion University where I used to teach, was a saber. I had my arm and a saber, had a picture showing school spirit. Now I probably could get away with it because I had a lot of connections, but I wanted to show my commitment to education and to my institution, and I was comfortable. I used to get in battles with my career services officers when I used to speak to them on LinkedIn, and I acceded to them that, yes, I will talk it and be professional. I'll let them know that you can wear a Harley t-shirt only if you're going to apply for a job at Harley. I would discourage wearing a t-shirt and looking scruffy unless that's the image. And if you want a dog or a cat in the photo, that's probably because you mean you're going to work as a veterinarian assistant or you're a vet. Then you can have animals. Otherwise, I would shy away. So those are some of the things to consider. Last thing, you do have 7 seconds to impress, just like on a resume. And if you impress, they will, can, or may look deeper. So networking basics, not going to talk a lot about this. The elevator pitch, helping others, you give by what you get. Connect like crazy. By the way, the magic number 500 in LinkedIn, if you have 10, it shows 10. If you've got 20, it shows 20. If you got 498, it shows 498. If you got 17,000, it shows 500 plus. So the magic 500 hurdle, that's a number that says, oh, I guess I'm a pretty active user of LinkedIn. That 500 is recognized. It does take effort and commitment, but it definitely is worth it. And do I invite people I don't know? That's another question. If you're going to interview for a job, do I try to invite the HR manager to connect? And 9 times out of 10, I'd say yes. If I'm going to interview at a company, or I'm going to interview for a med school interview, and I'm going to be talking to folks at the school on the admissions committee, I might try to find the names and say, I'm excited about coming up to USC to talk to you about being a med student at the institution. And then you can ask for a connection request. That gives you visibility. In marketing, many of you know, it takes 6 to 8 contacts on a billboard, in a poster, in awareness, seeing it on advertising in social media, or seeing it online on the internet somewhere. 6 to 8 or even 10 exposures before something starts to register. So the more someone sees your name, the better off you are. And the bottom line is you want to start now. There's some other videos you can connect to, student overview, other resources, and things to think about. Profile tips. I've got a lot of links that you can follow up with, obviously beyond the scope of a 1-hour presentation. And I have the assignment I've been giving out for 10 years in my classes. I actually had better alumni records of our business students at my last institution. I started there for 13 years, and I had been requiring, I started a semester with extra credit. Let's do LinkedIn for extra credit. And I said, it's so important. I require it in every class I now teach. So I used to teach all the financial accounting classes at my previous institution. All traditional students in business had to take financial accounting. That means I had better records than our alumni affairs office for our students that had graduated than what they were tracking. So they said, Scott, can you tell me about some of our alums, our graduates? I said, well, they're all on LinkedIn. They're not all current. Not everybody maintained their LinkedIn, their currency, but the majority did. And I can see where they were working when they switched jobs. I get announcements in LinkedIn. I can congratulate them. It's my dynamic Rolodex of choice. It goes one step further than a Rolodex. You get a business card, that's kind of static. You get a LinkedIn profile, when someone gets a new job, it gets posted, you get informed, and you can see where they're going, what they're doing, and issue a congratulations. That's what networking is. You can remember their birthdays. Some people put a birth date on here or not. You can remember other things and contact them. So this is my LinkedIn assignment that kind of goes with. Now I'm going to shut down to questions. I really like the word phantasmagorias. So if you have phantasmagorias or revelations or inspirations or thoughts or ideas or insights, now's your chance. Q&A time. What's on your mind? And feel free to unmute. And you just got the fire hose. I congratulate you on your endurance. Nobody got not knocked down yet, so I'm glad to see you're still standing. And I see smiling faces still, or yeah, okay, a little serious, but we'll work on that. What can you tell me of what you learned or what else you want to learn?
Earlier, you said you wouldn't put looking for opportunities in your profile. Why not?
I would be putting up when you say looking for opportunities, virtually everybody on LinkedIn is looking for opportunities. So if you think about it, I've seen open to opportunities, which is a little nicer way to put it, but I'd rather put my qualifications up there and when I seek out, because I'm going to be networking, I'm going to be reaching out. There's a lot of nice search capabilities to search for jobs. And there's a field when you put in, and you're in LinkedIn, you can say, I'm open for new opportunities. And that's actually a flag that you set. And I would set that if I'm looking for jobs, either part-time, consulting, or full-time, or adjunct roles, or anything else you might be looking for. So I would check it there, because when an HR person, they pay over $100 a month for their HR level premium services within LinkedIn, they can say, oh, this person's looking, and they want to know that. But for the world at large, if you're with your current employer, it's sometimes dangerous. Other ways that you really want, you don't need to say it, other than set the flag that says, I'm open for opportunities, and here's the kind of opportunities I'm looking for. And that is another area that we can talk about down another time, but it's a little bit more advanced, of where you set that flag and tell people, hey, hire me, I want a job. And that's fine. But that's not, I wouldn't post it in my headline. That is valuable real estate. You've got 300 characters to play with, and you say, I'm going to type in looking for a job. You know what? You just used up 20% of your characters. Why don't you put in skilled at, capable of, and want to apply my skills at this, that, the next thing. And that tells you you're looking for a job without saying, looking for a job, I'm desperate, please. You're not desperate. You may feel desperate some days more than others, but you're not desperate. Good question, thank you. I can't believe this was that complete, that you have all your questions answered.
Would you mind sharing your LinkedIn profile with us at the moment?
Sure, happy to.
It's a really great one.
Oh, thank you. And I'll tell you, my LinkedIn profile needs work. And you're going to say, Scott, you're a professional. What do you mean your LinkedIn profile needs work? Well, I'll go into LinkedIn here. And I'll go ahead and when you go, okay, let's do a little walking tour. When you go into LinkedIn, it takes you to, and I'm going to move that down. Okay. So you'll see this search bar. And this is where you can search for people. You can search for groups. And I'm just going to jump to Accounting Student Exchange for a second. Accounting, a student, something or other. And it's going to find me all kinds of accounting student stuff. Financial student, finance and accounting professional principal. These are companies. I want groups for accounting students. So I'm going to look at groups here. And there it is, Accounting Student Exchange, where business students and professionals share, learn, and grow. 1,078 members. Helping you grow and share and yada, yada. Okay, I'm going to go into this group. There's an accounting instructor network I belong to, Color Accounting Friends. These are groups that you can belong to. You go to the Accounting Student Exchange. This is a group. Here's what it does. Okay, help you grow by sharing, groups made up of accounting students, business professionals, and others wanting to learn from each other and grow personally and professionally. Current topics include yada, yada. So, and then there are articles. Okay, I found Mark Goldman. He does podcasts. He was in my group. I called him up and said, you interview accountants that do kind of funky things and different things. And I did a podcast with him. It'll be out in the next couple of weeks. So I did about 2 weeks ago. He says it's about a month to release. So they'll be posted there. I will go over to the homepage. Homepage is where news feeds are. And that homepage talks about things and people you're connected to. There's my network. And you can tell how many folks are in your network and people are talking. Yeah, I'm 17.7. I'm in 98 groups. You can search for jobs. You can see messages. People send you messages on a regular basis. And I've got messages from people that I've connected to or messages I send out to other people. I've got notifications, and these are things that are alerts by LinkedIn. They're letting you know about events and activities coming up. And then to address your first question, I'm going to go to my profile. So I'm going to go view my profile. So here's a profile. Dr. Scott, CPA. I put an emoji in there. I'm at your service. And I have in because I pay a premium. So I'm part of the premium program. I'm an assistant professor of accounting. I am a LinkedIn trainer. I help student professionals learn, grow, and succeed while enhancing career prospects and get hired. Francis Marion is where I currently work. Wharton is one of my places that I graduated from. And so that's the headline. It's assistant professor. There's my picture. I told you I'd put a motorcycle in there. I tried to humanize it. So rules are made to be broken. I've got some headshots that are really nice, but I think this just gets a magazine cover. It's kind of cool. And I got a background that's not too distracting, but it's something I do believe and I like. Then you've got about. You've got about 3 lines to start out. And the reason I say mine, I'm still a work in process. You probably want to do, that used to be, you just had your resume posted on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile is much more than a resume. And we'll get to the resume side down here. We'll get to jobs and other things in a minute. So with activities, companies, experiences, things I've done, where I've done, who I've done them for. But if we go down to about, you get a lot of space here. This is a lot of place where you put your keywords. Okay, so I've got my past, and again, this is all third person. I need to rewrite in first person. I have added some things. I added author to this a couple of weeks ago. I put other things in there as I go, but I do need to revamp it. And it's, I say, a work in process. But I also have my educational philosophy in here statement. I also have other things. You can put audio and video in here. And there was a cover story. And if you go over here, you can actually get the whole On Balance magazine. That was back in 2018, but it was a cool article. I was teaching high school students, I was teaching college students, and there was a nice spread. Okay, my dashboard, who's viewed your profile, article views that I've written. I've got 105 of those in a short period. And then you go down, activity. So you got experience. So post your jobs and things you've done. Okay. You've got education. You post your schools and things you've accomplished. Okay. Licenses and certifications. Okay. And there's courses that I've taken on LinkedIn. And then there's a bunch of other things, blockchain information, social capital, dissertation topic. I have a ServSafe. I've got a restaurant certification. Volunteer experience, activities. Say, oh, you've done Cookies United Way. I actually was a Uber driver. Why is it volunteer? Because I donated my proceeds to Habitat for Humanity. I wanted to see what the Uber platform was like. This is a few years back when it was fairly new. I just wanted to get some exposure. So what did I do? I was an Uber driver. I was a rideshare. Well, I did it for fun and not so much profit. Early rider. Skills and endorsements. You can endorse other people. They can endorse you. Recommendations, given and received. So those get posted. Accomplishments, organizations, honors and awards, languages. I mentioned accounting and there as a language. Publications, interests. So you add, there are multiple sections. You can add whole bunches of sections and a whole bunch of information. And know your homework is not to have your profile done like this tomorrow. So that's not the intent. But thank you for pointing that out, but it is an example of what you can do, the kind of things you can post, and some maneuvering you have here when you're in and looking at a profile and building your own profile. And then you can edit anytime you see a little pen here, I can edit any section I want. So I can go in and click and edit my about, and there it is. I am now in edit mode and I can make changes. And I can save it. I like the habit of putting it in Lion, LinkedIn Open Networker. I like the habit of putting in email addresses as well so people can find you, and good to go.
Interesting, you can translate in a different language too. I didn't know that.
Yep, there's automatic translation available, which is very powerful. Facebook is doing it, LinkedIn's doing it. There's a lot of tools out there that will do the language translation for you. And sometimes I've seen profiles and had invitations from French, Chinese, other languages that I don't recognize. And I'm saying, what do they do? So yeah, translated or yeah, I connect anybody anyways. So, or I've sought out people that they were in other languages too. I've actually used LinkedIn. I find a name, I say, I wonder where they're from. Oh, they're from Vietnam, typically, because the clans there, that's the kind of names they have. Okay, they're probably Vietnamese. This is American. I wanted to find some cultural roots so I can understand more about them, and I couldn't get it from their profile. So I search a name. I just put in the last name, and I'll find, 98% are from the Philippines. Okay, I guess they're probably Filipino. That's probably a good guess. And I've done a bunch of traveling, and I want to do some more. So I've only been to 4 continents. I got a couple to go.
Cool. I remember doing interviewing or starting to interview at some point. And what I would do is once I know who's going to be on the other side, I'd ask who's going to be in the panel. And so I search each one of them, make sure that I can look at their LinkedIn or their Facebook or whatever it is to get some sort of connection. Because that's 7 seconds that when you meet with somebody, those are the really important seconds, if they would like you or not. And it might be just a slight connection, just a connection you might have with them. Either, there's certain food that they like, or certain, or they speak a different language, or, they have children, just something small. And that could be a key, might not be anything else.
I'll give you a quick story. My nephew got married. He's got 2 kids now. He got married about 5-6 years ago. His future father-in-law was an academic at Northeastern, and pretty well renowned and pretty well known. And I actually said, looking forward to your daughter marrying my nephew, soon to be future in-laws. And when we met at the wedding, he said, so you're Scott. Yeah, I really enjoyed, I'm glad you connected, glad to meet you. And we knew about each other before that, just through LinkedIn. So did it help me in my career? Not yet, but it was nice. It was a nice connection to make, and family, friends. And now that I'm connected to him, I'm second degree to his connections. So does that mean he's connected to other academics that I know? I'm probably the most well-connected accounting faculty member in the world right now. And I'm not trying to brag, other than I made a conscious effort to do that. All right. And I have a high number that are accounting academics, business academics, HR, managers, entrepreneurs, and C-suite type folks. And then I joined a startup this summer. And for that, I'm pursuing some different markets. And I made a conscious effort to reach out to some potential clients in certain industries. And I look at the company, and you can look at a company, you see, the same way you saw alumni, you can look at a company and say, oh, here's the 250 employees in that company. Who's the CEO? Oh, that's kind of neat. Who's VPs? Who's chief information officer, chief financial officer, chief whatever. So you have that ability to search, and even with a free account, have access to that kind of information, that kind of search. And if you're going to apply for a company, it pays to have some allies in that company. You reach out. When I came to Francis Marion to interview last year, I went ahead and I connected to a whole bunch of people in a whole bunch of departments, especially business, because that's the business school I was applying to. But I also looked out to administration, and I wanted to see who was there, what kind of backgrounds they had, because I was coming to interview. I was going to interview with the provost. I was going to interview with the president, and I was going to interview with faculty as well. So I wanted to get connected. I reached out to students. I looked every institution I looked at a number of institutions I was considering before I came here. I looked at each summary, that summary page I showed you. I wanted to see where accounting students were getting jobs. And in my interview, I showed that to them. I said, boy, you got these folks going to the Big Four. You got these folks at the FBI. I see these 3 regional accounting firms where a lot of your graduates go to. You seem to be pretty well connected. Now, what did that tell them? It said, I did my due diligence, and nobody else, I guarantee you, brought that list to them, because it surprised them. I said, really, we got that many people at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers? Cool. And that builds a rapport, and that builds a network that says, boy, that's kind of a cool tool. If you come by my office, second floor, by the School of Business, I have this sheet of Francis Marion outside my door. And it summarizes FMU, not just that top list of employers, but geography, majors, and it's a top 12 list basically. And I keep that posted outside my door. I update it every 6 months or so. I share it with, I've actually had alumni, the alumni folks wanted to see it. I had development folks and advancement folks wanted to see it. That is a powerful tool that you can do for free. Cool stuff. Other questions? How many are going to start using this stuff a little bit more? Anybody? Okay, excellent. I give a lifetime warranty, by the way. By the way, it's my lifetime, not yours necessarily. But if you ever have any LinkedIn questions or other related questions, when you connect with me, you'll be on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find me pretty easily. I keep my phone number, my 608-446-1000 number. I've had that for 20, 30 years. That's also my Zoom account number, which you got into this account through that phone number. So you can use that. But if you have a question on LinkedIn, lifetime warranty, free phone call, free email, free contact, let me know. If I can help in any way, that you pay a lot of money for tuition, you deserve a payback on that investment. So I'm happy to share insights. Like I say, I did write the book. It's an 85-step book. Waiting to get to 100 to make it a second edition. I'm up to 93 right now. So maybe some questions you might have and you don't see and you want more information on, I'd like to know. And I like to keep current myself. And it does change all the time. There's something called, you probably heard of Facebook Live. There's something called LinkedIn Live that's coming. I just applied to it about a month ago. It's a limited release. They take about 2 to 3 months to get approved. But they want to do that on LinkedIn too. And I want to be on, I think video is kind of where it's at and growing. And yes, we have YouTube and other accounts and places to put. As you know, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind the almighty Google. But LinkedIn is a huge search engine too. People don't think of it as a search engine, but you can search out employers, groups, interests, and get a lot of information, not just on people, but on companies and other groups as well. So it's a tool in your toolbox that can be incredibly valuable. So you're encouraged to take advantage. Other thoughts?
I want to ask the students what are their thoughts. Put you in the spot.
Yeah, let's do a roundtable. If everybody give me a little bit of feedback onto what you thought, what you gained, and what you might want more of. So we did a roundtable at the beginning. Let's do a roundtable at the end. Who wants
Jade,
to-
want to start?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. I would have never gotten this advice. since you're just like an expert on this, it's nice to hear one of the top people in the world just give you advice personally.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very kind. So what are you walking away with specifically? What are your takeaways? I guess that's the question that you're getting out of this or that might impact your future. I'll put you on the spot. You're first.
Uh, how long do you think it would take to build it, to build your account to a decent spot? Like I don't know.
What kind of commitment would it take to make a decent profile and,
Yeah.
and maybe start seeing results?
Mhm.
You can take your resume and in an hour or two post some of the things directly from that. That's not going to be the be all and end all. I don't want your LinkedIn profile to be a resume on screen, although for employers, it better match. If you have dates on your resume, it better match your dates on your LinkedIn profile. But your LinkedIn profile is more. Can your LinkedIn produce results in an hour or two of setting up a LinkedIn account? The short answer is yes. Can you get found based on a couple of hours of input, setting up your profile? Yes. I'll give you an example. I had a student who got contacted. He was looking, well, he was about to start looking for internships. He was in a business school. He was approached by a Fortune 500 company that he had never heard of. Okay. And he approached me and said, Scott, could you tell me NM at Northwestern Mutual Life? Do you know anything about them? I've never heard of them. They wanted to talk to me about an interview. Is this a scam? I'm saying, okay, well, we did a learning teachable moment. I said, let's do a little bit of research. I will share that, yes, I've heard of Northwestern Mutual Life. They are Fortune 500 and they have one of the best internships in the country. He said, oh, I guess I should probably respond yes if they're asking me if they want to interview. And I said, that's probably a good idea. Who is it that was there? And they were a first degree connection of mine that actually reached out to them, and they were second degree to them. And he ended up being the top 5% in the country of Northwestern Mutual Life interns for that year. And he got a trip to Aruba or somewhere in the Caribbean. And so he was pretty successful from a company that he didn't approach, he didn't reach out to, but they found him through his LinkedIn profile. And had he not had a LinkedIn profile, they wouldn't have found him. And he would never have found them. So now he probably had spent more like 10 or 20 hours building his network, developing a profile. He started with an assignment in my class and he built from there. And that was cool. And that's powerful. Now you also might get approached for multi-level marketing, which is not bad. People made a lot of money in that. It's not a pyramid scheme, but they say, well, we've got a business opportunity. Would you like to participate? And that's a yes or no answer. And you might find it interesting. You might find it not. So, but give me one takeaway, Jada, if you don't mind, that you got out of this that really hit home or gave you a feel that, I guess I think I could use this.
Just the importance of networking. I had already known, but I didn't know like 70% of jobs that are that people get are through networking. So that's really interesting to hear.
Excellent takeaway. Cool. All right, next victim?
Taylor, you want to go next?
Sure. So first, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
I would say one of my biggest takeaways would be building your brand. Because I mean, I'm big on like academic Twitter and we use GitHub for our research now, but none of my accounts really have my name on them. Like they do, but it's not the same name, so you can't link them together.
Great place for your publications, great place to show your wares, to strut your stuff, to show off. So that's a great takeaway. Anything more you would have liked to have seen? I mean, we had limited time, and again, you can't do it all in one session, but any burning questions in your mind that are making you think, you know what, I would like to know more about this, or something. If we did a second session, what kind of things would you like to see?
One of the things I've always wondered is kind of everything I hear is like quantify what you do in your resume and make it detailed, but don't go into the wrong type of details. I guess how to put that on there.
Okay, that's a great question. And we mentioned that you want to show what you can do, and quantify meaning putting dollars, putting numbers. I've worked in teams of 6 people, 10 people. I led a team of 12 to develop a project. And the result was doubling sales in the next year or implementing the most successful whatever. I put in our accounting club. We had at our first meeting, 57 folks came to our first accounting club meeting, and wasn't too bad with 80 majors. And we didn't have an accounting club before. So we had a charter club that was, I'd say, pretty successful. I was told it was the biggest kickoff of any club on campus that we did last fall. And it was fun. And so, I mean, I knew I was in the right place. And 2 weeks into the job, I was approached by 2 students saying, Dr. Scott, would you help us get an accounting club off the ground? We see you like to talk to students. And it turns out it's been great. It's worked out. Our second meeting, we had a panel of 6 community members, 5 of which were recruited by students. I had a neighbor at Otis Elevator. I got guilty. I got 1 for the panel, but students got the other 5 folks on board. And again, it's cool that that involvements can be promoted. LinkedIn was a tool to use to reach out. And once you go to these meetings, go like a mad dog saying, wow, okay, I saw you speak. You may not even talk to them, but I heard you speak. And it could be an academic conference. It could be a job site. It could be a job arena or a professional conference. I was impressed by what I heard. I would be honored to be added to your LinkedIn professional network. Now you're connected to authors. Now you're connected to the gurus. You're connected to the people that are going to know other people. And if now you're connected to them, you say, I'm just a lowly student, but I got a question. And 9 times out of 10, I know when I had my businesses, I'd get a phone call and say, hi, I understand you own this company. It's been successful. I'm a student. I'd like to learn more about what you do. And I say, well, today's busy. I tell you, next Tuesday or Wednesday for lunch, I'll take you out. The day after you graduate, I get that phone call and I say, oh, you must want to talk to HR. Human resources, let me patch you through. Bang. So as a student, you are in a golden position to make those phone calls, make those connections. I'd like to set up a time just to talk for 15 minutes about your career, the things you do, because I'm very interested in the path that you've taken. I see that you did X, Y, Z. Now you've done your homework. And I think I might like to follow along that track. Do you have some time that you can spare in the next week or 2? Again, 95% of the time, especially if they're an alum from your school, they're going to say, I'll make time. I might even take you out for lunch. So there is such a thing as a free lunch. Take advantage. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Janaya, you want to say something?
I've already used LinkedIn before because I had to make a resume and then make a LinkedIn account based on what was on my resume. And then after I did that, I added more things to it. And I was kind of aggressively sending invites to people. I think my first connection was a math professor. And then I found people that he knew and then made connections with them.
Well done.
And, and I didn't really use the messaging that much. I used it with one person that I was connected to because I went to a lecture with him. And I don't know, when I sent invites, I generally didn't send the messages with them. So I think that's one thing that I learned from here.
Cool.
Um,
What was your batting average when you sent an invite to somebody? Ballpark, what percentage might connect or not connect?
I would say there would be a 30% chance. I think I have, there are people that I sent invites to a long time ago and I haven't gotten a response. I think I've sent about 72 and I think I have about 93 connections now. Ever since I started, yeah.
Cool, you're well on your way.
I want to get more connections right now. I think that's one thing, and to add more things to my profile, like an introductory message maybe. But
I'll give you one more tip or hint.
Okay.
We briefly talked about groups. When you join groups and you respond in those groups, you become a recognized authority. Not everybody's responding. So if you're in a group and you're in a professional arena and saying, great, this is talking about math education. and somebody posts an idea, you might have an article that you post, or you might have input or a response that you can give saying, I actually was reading this article or had this book or was talking to these people or this person, this guru, and they have a video. Here's a link to that. Or here's my thoughts now. You go one step further and say, here's somebody else's thoughts. That's cool. Now you start giving feedback saying, when I did this in this research, here's the experience I had. And then people will approach you and you can connect to people that are in these groups. So you can start getting aggressive saying, boy, and I've gone in groups before and I said, great, this is a prime target. I'm going to invite everyone in the group. As a fellow member of this group, I'd be honored to be added to your LinkedIn professional network. Okay. Now I've got a whole bunch of people in my target audience that are now first degree connections, and I can follow through and say, and by the way, every time I connect to somebody, I say, thank you for connecting, wish you continued success. I might add another comment, or they might say, oh, glad we're connected. I see that you're involved in XYZ. Those are things, and we start a dialogue and a communication. So pretty powerful stuff. So thank you for the feedback, and hopefully that gets you some more insight too. So
Thank you.
You're well on your way. You're very welcome.
And Janaisha. Great. Hello.
Janisha, next online.
Well, I'll put Dan on the spot.
Hold on, I'm breaking up a little bit. But I want to know, how many people have you made connections with versus how many people made connections with you?
Every day I will use, again, it's a commitment to maintain. So every day I probably send out, it varies. I may send out 2 to 5, or if I'm in a meeting, if I'm on a Zoom call, if I'm in a Wiley or a McGraw-Hill session and I see names and I see presenters, I'm going to invite everyone there to connect. If these are fellow professionals that have interests like I do, I'm usually getting anywhere from 2 to 20 requests a day as well. So I've got people reaching out to me, and again, it's a global audience, and they may connect because of some common background element we have. And frankly, I was in the Navy, so I reached out to fellow military. I was in a number of businesses. I'm connected to a bunch of folks from Dish Network because we used to sell Dish into DirecTV. I'm connected to from franchise groups called New Horizons Community Learning Center. I was a founding member of part of the first year of franchising. I'm a Harley Owners Group, a lifetime hog member. So I'm in a variety of groups, and I reach out to a variety of folks and interests. I was a Big Four accountant, so I'm connected to Ernst & Young alumni. I was a Grant Thornton, so I'm a Grant Thornton alumni. Sigma Beta Delta, any of the honor societies you might participate in. I taught Model UN, and I connected to a Model UN student group as well as to the UN itself. So I get involved in groups, entrepreneurship groups, and other types of groups that I have interests. And I've had to hone that down because yeah, how active can I be in 100 groups? Not real active. I'm probably active in 5 or 6, and I'm posting articles. But sometimes I'll post an article in 100 groups or 98 groups, just because it's that interesting. And heck, when I published my books, I did that. I went in there and let people know. And those are the kind of things you want to brag about, but you also want to inform people about because you think you have some good insight. So, yep, I probably still send out more invitations than I get, but I still have a lot of connections that I'm honored to connect with. I'll see that I do a Zoom happy hour 5 o'clock on Fridays. And actually, one of my trainers that I hired 28 years ago for one of my companies was in the group. And he also signed my ketubah, my marriage certificate. And I had been in touch with him. We've been connected for 10, 12 years. I reached out to him when I started LinkedIn, but we hadn't interacted very much. And so we've been interacting since. And it's kind of cool to go back to high school and say, hey, these are the folks I worked with, from the community I grew up in. Those are folks that go in different directions, and it's nice to be in a dynamic environment. And you never know when you might need insurance or a real estate agent, or when you might need or want, or you have something they want, and they'll find you through LinkedIn. So it's pretty powerful. Leads up to Dan, huh?
Yeah.
And unmute.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Any takeaways, any insights?
I guess one thing, from a student's perspective, we'd be curious about when they start to think about internships and they have their LinkedIn profile set up. What might be a second step once they get in contact with someone?
Okay. Now, I'm going to elaborate what you just said about the LinkedIn profile setup. I talk about WIFM, okay? And WIFM is not a radio station east of the Mississippi. It's what's in it for me. Whenever I do a marketing, an email, an ad, or a LinkedIn profile, I want to see what's in it for the viewer. And if I'm looking for an internship as a data analyst, well, I want to emphasize my data analytics skills. I might want to put my, for example, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers has a free 4-course sequence that gets you a certificate in data analytics. If you're looking for an accounting job, first of all, PwC is part of the big four largest CPA firms in the world. That's kind of powerful. If you can put that on your resume and your LinkedIn profile and have a badge to go with that, that's going to be seen, that's going to get noticed. So you want to work on your profile, what's in it for the viewer? Oh, you've got data analytics skills. You've got Tableau, you've got Excel, you've got these tools that you've used and are familiar with, because they're going to do a search and they're going to say, I'm looking for somebody that can do Excel and Tableau or Microsoft Power BI, and that has the term data analytics in their terminology and visualization, and they'll do some key terms. If you have those terms, you're ahead of the game, and especially if you're a first or second degree connection of whoever's doing the search, you're going to be in good shape. So what's the next step? Well, now you found out you're going to list 5 companies you want to work for. You say, I've done my research. These are the 5 companies I would like to get into. I want to be in Google. I want to be in Microsoft. Okay, those are possibilities. But you also might say ACS. You just noticed that here at FMU, ACS is number 3 or 4 in terms of hiring. And they make church software. And if they're looking for someone to do data analytics, ACS loves FMU grads. They have at least half of their staff is FMU grads. And that is a great environment. They've come to campus before. I've talked to a number of people there. I'm connected to a whole bunch of folks there. Great environment, great people. Sunoco, 20,000 plus employees around the world, $5 billion in sales. Is that a company you might want to work for? I had a graphic artist just 2 days ago contacting me and said, Scott, do you have any Sunoco connections? I'd love to get in the company. And every employee that I've talked to, I've met a lot, loves the place. So you might make your wish list of companies you want to get into based on what you heard. Talk to your faculty. They talk to me, I'm going to mention companies like I just did. You talk to another faculty, they're going to mention other companies and give you other ideas. So now you start reaching out and saying, okay, let's not go to the group page that we did, or like I did for Accounting Student Exchange, or the school page like we did to look up FMU alums. Let me go to the corporate page, the company page for this company, and click on employees. Let's say 247 employees on LinkedIn, 803 employees on LinkedIn, 4 employees on LinkedIn. Go find those 4 employees. Reach out. We talked about informational interviews. We talked about that 15 minutes of, hi, do you have some time? I'd really like to find out more about the company and the opportunities that you guys have. And I know you're not in HR, but you got the job I think I want. And if you impress upon them enough that you're interested in what they do, people love to talk about themselves. And they will do it ad nauseum until you're tired of it, but that's okay. And by the way, an interview is not a one-sided conversation. An interview, even when you go to a recruiter, even when you go on campus or off campus to go to an interview, that interview is, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much as you talk. It's kind of not a bad ratio. The interviewer is trying to sell you the same way you're trying to sell yourself to them and the company. So just be aware, it's not a one-way ticket. It's not a one-way communication. You're all in sales. By the way, congratulations on your promotion. You're all salespeople. I'm a salesperson. I sell ideas in the classroom every day. And I sell products and services outside the classroom. And I sold vacuum cleaners. I sold cars. I've had an illustrious career doing a variety of things. All right. And no, we don't call them used cars. We call them pre-owned cars. But that's okay. It's a technical term. You get the idea, though, that you're selling yourself in an interview, but they're selling you. So you want a dialogue. And the more you can get an interviewer talking about themselves or members of your network talking about themselves, what they've done, the more rapport you're going to build, the more you're going to learn, and the more questions you're going to have, and the more intelligent you're going to appear when you finally get that interview. And then they're going to, and without a doubt, they're going to call up HR, say, I got this Dan, this cool guy I just talked to. He's going to be applying for a job. Keep your eyes open. You want that call to be made to HR. And then you want to apply for the job, obviously. But you're going to find out that you have to get a warmer welcome. And you want to have that rapport. And HR is going to look at, they're going to say, even when they are looking at candidates, say, oh, you're connected to 5 people at our company, and somebody else isn't connected to any. Again, that's going to move you up in the pile. That's going to put you ahead of the game. So you're going to be in a position that, yes, you're going to know some people, you're going to have added insight, you're going to have more connections in the company. I'll give you one more warning. Send a thank you note to everybody you talk to, but don't send the same thank you note to everybody you talk to. Why? Because the first thing someone's going to do is say, oh, Dan sent me this thank you note. I'm going to forward this over to HR just to let them know Dan's been interested. Well, 6 other people will forward your thank you note to HR, and HR is going to glance at it and say, don't you have any imagination? You just sent the same thank you note to 6 people. That's a strike against you, not a strike for you. That's not a hit, single or double. It's 2 strikes. So be aware that that's going to happen, but be aware that's what you want to do, and you want to customize. Same way you customize your invites, you're going to customize the responses, you're going to customize the thank you notes and the follow through. So hopefully that makes sense. Minerva, anything to capstone what we talked about?
Once you get to that place where you're in your LinkedIn file, you go to grad school, which we're hoping our students here at FMU can keep on going towards,
Amen.
or getting into the workforce. So once you get there and you have your LinkedIn profile, what's next? What would be next for them to look forward to?
LinkedIn profile is continuous. I mean, careers are continuous improvement, continuous development. Are you going to stop your education once you get your grad degree? I hope not. Okay. I was 61 and I got my doctorate. All right. I'm not shy. I wasn't the oldest in my class either, but it's lifelong learning. I try to set a good example for my students, for my family, and for the environment. And I take these MOOCs. I did the PwC data analytics. I did the blockchain course from IBM. And those are kind of things you can put on your resume. You want IBM on your resume? 2-hour, free course. Now you know more about blockchain than 95% of the people that you're interviewing with. And they might say, what's this blockchain thing on your resume about? Oh, well, in math, it's pretty good stuff to know about. In business, it's pretty good stuff to know about. Now, it's not just cryptocurrency. It's actually used by Walmart. It's actually used by Campbell Soup. It's actually used by artists. It's actually used by marijuana growers to track their crops. It's actually used by all kinds of industries. And that's powerful to understand some of the technologies behind that. And that's one of those top technologies you want to be aware of. So you can do these short courses, get badges, get them for free, and put them on your LinkedIn profile and resume. So what's your next step? It's a continuous step. It's an escalator. It's not just a step. So get on the ride and let's ride on up. Now, you also probably want to connect to a mentor. And let me just address that for a minute, because you're going to find that you can go solo and you can go head first, charge, rush. But the ideal is to find a mentor inside or outside of a company. And you may change companies and they can still be your mentor, but in an industry that you're in. And you might target one of your connections that's saying, boy, they're pretty well known, or they're not known well yet, but I really like them. I can talk to them. And you can make that direct request saying, do you mind if I talk to you on a regular basis? I don't want to use the term mentor too much out of the box, but I really like what you've done, and I see you leading the way, and I'd like to learn more about what you do. Would you mind having a regular conversation with me? And again, they may say I'm too busy, but 90% of the time you won't hear that. You'll hear, I'd be happy. You know what? Why don't we get together once a month? I'll take you out for a cup of coffee, or you take them out for a cup of coffee, even better. And you can say that you're going to be doing the work. I'm going to treat you to a cup of coffee, and maybe a lunch now and then, or a dinner. And I want to get to know what you do, how you do it, because what I see you do is amazing. And you can compliment the heck out of them because it's true. and you're selecting them as a mentor because they're doing things that you think would be worthwhile down the road for you to get more exposure to and get more involved with. So those are the kind of exposures that you will want to develop, the links you want to build, the network you want to have. And someday you might say, well, I'm looking for a job. There's a book, How Big is Your Parachute? And you might say, you know what? I grew out of my job. By the way, when you interview, you obviously never talk down your company, but why are you looking for another job? You don't say, well, my coworkers suck and I don't like to work with these people. And everybody's so negative, and now you're being negative. That's a reflection on you. You could say, well, the position when I first took it was exciting and I was actively involved in these projects and those projects, but it's grown in a kind of a different direction. I would like my career to go this way, but the position has gone that way. And I've talked to my manager and they're aware of what I would like to do. And when I saw your opportunity, that is the perfect fit. That's now where I want to be. And that's why I'm here. Nothing wrong with my previous company. I love the people, love the environment. If you don't say that. But they've been very good to me. They've taken very good care. You don't have to say they cut my pay, they cut my hours, they're trying to get rid of me anyways. Those are not things you kind of talk about in an interview. But you will say the positives and be honest. And by the way, honesty, ethically, you can't go wrong with honesty. You have to say it like it is. Or if you have a gap, or if you've been fired. I was let go and not just I was let go, I was fired. But what the heck did you learn from that? What does it mean that you were fired? And why will this not happen again when you come here? The best predictor of future performance is past performance. So if you get 5 different jobs in 5 years, that's going to be a hard nut to crack in this 6th job interview for that 6th position you're looking for. Now, there may be very good reasons you change. I might be in a military, might have to be mobile for military reasons because my spouse or significant other relocated. I had to relocate. I had to change jobs, fact of life. I had family issues. I had to move back home because I had to take care of a family member. Life happens. And the best thing is to be honest. But the other side of it is they're going to see that, and you need to be able to be prepared for those kind of questions. So
Thank you so much, Scott. I really do appreciate all the time you spend with us, and I'm sure our students probably got a lot, to go on with for this summary and in the next couple of years, and as they transition into undergraduate to graduate school, hopefully.
Amen.
If they go to academia and into the workforce, I think they'll have the skills that they need, and we're just building as we have them with us. And thank you so much for taking the time and the opportunity to be with us, and I do really appreciate it.
The privilege has been mine. Glad to be here, and I will flash back to the beginning and the end. So if you want to get a copy of this presentation, the tiny URL at the bottom, FMULI7. And if you want to connect with me, I'd be honored as well. Dr. Scott, CPA. And anything else you have, any other questions you have, it's been a privilege. And I look forward to seeing you all grow and succeed. So thank you for your time. This is an investment of your time to participate, and appreciate your commitment to your own careers, your own growth, and to sharing with others. And go network and enjoy.
Good. Thank you.
Very welcome. Best of luck to all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
See ya.